Guys, it's me, Teacher Emily. I wanted to do a quick building tutorial for you talking about making houses out of images and just some tips that I've learned along the way about how these function in Playground. So the first thing I'm just going to show you two different sizes. We will do let's see, we'll start with like a stone block. I'm going to zoom out by pinching my fingers on the trackpad. I'm going to put my fingers separated and pinch them in towards the center, and that's going to help me to zoom all the way out. And then I'm going to right click on the screen while I drag my finger to adjust the view. So now I can see it just flat like a piece of paper, and this is how I lay out what I'm going to build at the very beginning. Okay, so here I'm going to show you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do 6 blocks. So I'm going to count the blocks so that I know that I'm making a square. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here I don't always have to count because I can just kind of see how the grass creates a line there. So now we have a small 6 by 6 room. And I'm going to go bigger. So I can see that's 6 by 6. I'm going to double it. All right, so now we have, you can see 2 square designs where we will create rooms. I'm going to go to my images. I have a castle ready just to kind of show you as a demo. Okay, so I'm going to lay the castle on the floor and blow it up. First thing. My plan is to put this corner on this block, so I drag the castle from that corner and put it onto the block. That's not big enough, so I need to make it bigger. I can put it on the floor again and drag it onto that corner and adjust it just a bit. Now I know that's the size that I need. I'm going to lock it, drag my screen around by right clicking on the screen. I'm going to set this to clonable because for me that's easier. You can also unlock it and duplicate it, but when I am duplicating images like this, I often set it to clonable so that I can keep this where it's at. I know I won't move it on accident, and I can recreate the image of the same size. So my plan is to put this image here in the same way, so I'm going to drag this corner, which is going to go here. Like that. So drag it from here. Okay, here is another one. I'm just going to drag this onto here. Make sure we're locking these into place. And here we have another one. So the big tip here is to drag from where you want to place it on the block. You can always adjust it, but yeah, I guess my big tip is to put it on the floor and then drag from where you're going to place it onto the surface where you're placing it. So now you have a square castle. And now I'm going to create a smaller square castle. All right, my dears, so now we have 2 different size square structures. And I'm going to explain about dimensions here for a moment, just when you're thinking about design. I would say that the castle might look epic, but it's more proportionate to the avatar. And when I'm thinking about size and I'm thinking about proportion, I'm also keeping in mind function in the activity that this will play out into the lesson. So I'm going to go into first person view, and let's go into the big castle first. So this is just right from entering, this is my view. And I feel like that's a pretty good view, let's do for the students. If you think about what the students are going to see, these are just for example, these are little slides from my lessons. So let's say we ask our student, let's enter the blue castle, just go right through the front door, and then they have a good view of what we're looking at. Can you walk towards the blue wall? Let's go to the blue wall. And now you can even use the focus tool, and that brings it front and center. If we need to now move around, they can see the blue wall, but now I'm going to ask them to go to the yellow wall and they can see it also. It's not out of their view, so they have a nice peripheral, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. Now if I do the same thing in the smaller room, it's a bit more confusing. If you have things on these walls, one, you're going to get a dizzy factor because you have your student spinning around. And two, you're not going to be sure of what exactly they're looking at because the peripheral is a lot smaller, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go into my image library and show you my 16:9. We'll do the same slides. Okay, and this one. All right, so here, if I'm going to enter this room, now there's a lot going on. So if I tell my student to go, we're going to work on 1 through 6, they're like, holy moly, there's a lot of numbers on the wall. So we can go to the blue wall. Now we're going to adjust our avatar because we can't really see the full blue wall. And of course, there's this amazing focus mode tool. It's just not quite as smooth. So thinking about the function, you have your student enter the room. Let's go to the blue castle. Now we're going to look at the blue wall. Well, they're like, well, I can see this yellow wall. I kind of want to see that one. It's a little too confined. So I would say to go bigger, not because it is just epic and amazing. I'm thinking about the walking in between the activities. So say we do this activity. Now there's a little bit of a brain break where we're transitioning by walking to the next activity, which is just right over here. And now we get into view. It's not too hard for the student to see, okay, here's the blue wall, and now I'm going to get into view. It's not that difficult. Of course, we also have this focus mode tool. Okay, so one more thing that I want to mention when you're building these little paper image houses is that you can create walls inside of these paper houses, but at the very least I would recommend, again, for function, using either blocks or a fence, something that creates the function of a real wall on the inside of these images. So you can use blocks, let's say. And then leave the doors open because your student is going to assume they're walking through a door and they might accidentally just walk through a wall. And once you have them in the room, you're going to want the function to work for them to stay inside of that room until the assignment is to leave that room. And just one layer of bricks, ideally at least 2, because it's not an easy jump over those. But if you're just walking with a lower level student, that's going to kind of keep them in the area. They might accidentally walk out of this paper house because you can walk through images. And then I'm going to show you, we'll put this, oh, that's not locked. Okay, we'll put this on the floor. It is locked. Put this on the floor and I will add another image. As a as an interior wall. So I try to put this in the center before I blow it up. And then we have a wall, which is a great place to put your content on top of. Okay, so that's how it looks. Okay, so the purpose of this is to show you, one, how to make houses with images easily, and two, to demonstrate my thought process when I'm making these playgrounds. Hopefully these will be helpful tips for you. I am not just thinking about how these are going to look. I am almost even more so thinking about how they're going to function. So think about that when you're building, how the student, even do a walkthrough by yourself, pretending to teach a student, or ideally having another child in the class to walk through, so that you can see how it's going to play out. So again, I'm not making my playgrounds huge just to make them look like mind-blowing. I'm making them huge because there is a function factor where the student has peripheral view in order to help guide them and understand what your peripheral view looks like, so you can match up what you're looking at, and also the walking factor as a transition in between activities. All right, so if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I am happy to help, and happy KoalaGo teaching.